The finish arch up ahead, and this is now the second time we've seen Wudu and Anley surge either side, and this time I think it is for move away. They have certainly broken Sharew.
Well, Wudu's only 21 years old. She's a fabulous talent. World Junior Championship silver medalist over 5,000 meters in
ይህ ሁለት ኢትዮጵያውያን ሴት አትሌቶች አሸናፊ ሆኖ ለማጠናቀቅ አንደኛ በመውጣት የድል ክብሩን ለመውሰድ የሚያደርጉት አስደናቂ ትንቅንቅ የታየበት የራስ አልካይማ የ2026 የግማሽ ማራቶን ውድድር ነው። 19ኛው የራስ አልካይማ የግማሽ ማራቶን ውድድር ሲደረግ በፍጻሜው መስመር ላይ የአንደኛነቱን ስፍራ ይዞ ለማጠናቀቅ የታገሉት አስማረች አንለይና መልክናት ውዱ የተከታታዮችን ቀልብ ሰቅዘው መያዝ የቻሉ ናቸው። የተወደዳችሁ የኢትዮ አትሌቲክስ ተከታታዮች ለዛሬ በራስ አልካይማ የግማሽ ማራቶን ውድድር ኢትዮጵያዊያኑ አትሌቶች አሸናፊ ሆኖ ለማጠናቀቅ ያደረጉትን አስደናቂ ትንቅንቅና የውድድር ሃይላይት ይዘንላችሁ መተናል። እንደ ከዚህ ቀደሙ ሁሉ ኢትዮጵያውያን ሴቶች እንደተቆጣጠሩበት ዘንድሮም ተመሳሳዩ ተፈጥሯል። እናም ይህንን ቪዲዮ ላይክ በማድረግ ለብዙ ሰዎች እንዲዳረስ አግዙን። ሰብስክራይብ በማድረግ ቤተሰባችን መሆኑን እንዳትዘነጉት። በዓለማችን ከሚገኙ እጅግ ፈጣንና ፍላት ከሚባሉ የውድድር ኮርሶች መካከል አንደኛው ነው ራስ አልካይማ። በዚህ ውድድር ኢትዮጵያውያን አትሌቶች በተደጋጋሚ በርካታ የሚባል ድሎችን ሲያስመዘግቡ አይተናል። የግማሽ ማራቶኑ መድረክ ኢትዮጵያውያን ወጣት አትሌቶች የውድድር ጅማሯቸውን የሚያደርጉበት፣ ራሳቸውን ለዓለም የሚያስተዋውቁበት ሲሆን ትልልቅ የሚባሉ ዓለም አቀፍ ዝናን የያዙ አትሌቶች ደግሞ የዓለም ክብረ ወሰኖችን፣ ብሔራዊ ክብረ ወሰኖችና የቦታ ክብረ ወሰኖችን ደጋግመው የሚሰብሩበት መድረክ ነው። ይህንን ደግሞ ለማድረግ እጅግ የተመቸ ነው ራስ አልካይማ። ምክንያቱም ለጥ ያለ ሜዳማ የመሮጫ ኮርስና እጅግ የተመቸ የአየር ንብረትን እየተላበሰ ስለሆነ እስካሁን በተደረገው የራስ አልካይማ የግማሽ ማራቶን ውድድር ኢትዮጵያውያን ለበርካታ ጊዜ በድል አጠናቀዋል። በወንዶቹ ድሪባ መርጊያ፣ ሌሊሳ ደሲሳ፣ ሞስነት ገረመው፣ ብርሃኑ ለገሰ በአሸናፊነት ያጠናቀቁ ናቸው። በሴቶች ደግሞ እንደነ ብርሃኔ አደሬ፣ ድሬ ቱኔ፣ ሰንበሬ ተፈሪ፣ አባብል የሻነ፣ ግርማዊት ገብረ እግዚአብሔር፣ ጽጌ ገብረ ሰላማና እጅጋየው ታየ ያሉ ታላላቅ አትሌቶች ድል ተቆናጠውበታል። በራስ አልካይማ ከዚህ ቀደም በነበሩ ውድድሮች 3 የሴት የግማሽ ማራቶን ክብረ ወሰኖች ተሰባብረዋል። በወንዶች ደግሞ አንድ የዓለም ክብረ ወሰን የተሰበረበት መድረክ ነው። እናም ፈጣን የሚባል ሰዓት ለማስመዝገብ የሚመች ተብሎ ይጠራል። ራስ አልካይማ ላይ የግማሽ ማራቶኑን ውድድር የቦታውን ክብረ ወሰን በወንዶች ዩጋንዳዊው ጃኮብ ኪፕሊሞ በ2022 57:56 በመግባት ይዞታል። የሴቶቹን ደግሞ ኢትዮጵያዊቷ ግርማዊት ገብረ እግዚአብሔር በ2022 1 ሰዓት ከ04 ደቂቃ ከ14 ሰከንድ በመግባት መጨረስ እችላለች። አሁን ድረስ የቦታው ክብረ ወሰንም ተብሎ የተቀመጠው ይኸው ሰዓቷ ነው። 2026 ላይ የተደረገው ይህ ውድድር በተለይ በሴቶቹ ተከታታይ 3ኛ ኢትዮጵያዊ አሸናፊ አትሌት ለማግኘት የተቻለበት ነበረ። በ2024 ጽጌ ገብረ ሰላማ፣ በ2025 ደግሞ እጅጋየሁ ታየ ፈጣን በሚባሉ ሰዓቶች ሲያሸንፉ አይተናል። ዘንድሮም ይህንን ለመድገም በርከት ያሉ ጠንካራ ኢትዮጵያውያን አትሌቶች ተሰልፈዋል። ከነዚያ መካከል መልክናት ውዱ፣ ውዴ ከፋለ፣ አስማረች አንለይና ሌሎች ጠንካራ የሚባሉ አትሌቶችም የታጩበት ነበረ። ነገር ግን በመጨረሻው ሰዓት አስማረች አንለይና መልክናት ውዱ ያደረጉት ትግል ልብን የሚያሞቅ ሆኖ አግኝተነዋል። በመጨረሻው ሰዓት ለድል ሲስፈነጠሩ የነበሩት ሁለቱ ወጣት አትሌቶች እድሜያቸው እጅግ ለጋ የሚባል ነው። የ21 ዓመት ሯጮች ናቸው። አስማረች አንለይ ከዚህ ቀደም በርከት ባሉ ውድድሮች ተሳትፋ ታውቃለች። ነገር ግን በግማሽ ማራቶን ስትካፈል ይህ የመጀመሪያዋ ነበረ። በኢትዮጵያ ሻምፒዮና ሐዋሳ ላይ በ5000 ሜትር 2022 ላይ 13ኛ ሆና ያጠናቀቀች አትሌት ናት። በ2023 ዓለም አቀፍ ውድድሮችን ማድረግ ጀመረች። የአፍሪካ ከ20 ዓመት በታች ሻምፒዮና ላይ በ3000 እና በ5000 ሜትር ጥሩ የሚባሉ ድሎችን ማስመዝገብ ቻለች። ከዛ ባለፈ በጎዳና ውድድሮች በ5 እና በ10 ኪሎ ሜትርም ስትካፈል አየናት። በ2024 እቺ አትሌት በርካታ የጎዳና ውድድሮችን አድርጋለች። የአገር አቋራጭ ውድድር፣ የ5 እና 10 ኪሎ ሜትር መድረኮች፣ የ3000 እና የ5000 ሜትር የትራክ ውድድሮችንም በተደጋጋሚ ስታደርግ ነበረ። በ2025 የብቃቷ ከፍታ ለዓለም እየታየ የመጣበት ነበረ። በ15 ኪሎ ሜትር የኔዘርላንድስ የጎዳና ውድድር አንደኛ ሆና ስታጠናቅቅ አየናት። በ5 ኪሎ ሜትር የሳውዲ አረቢያ መድረክ አንደኛ ሆና ጨረሰች። ከዛ ባለፈ በቻይና ሻንግሃይ ላይ የ10 ኪሎ ሜትር ውድድርን በድል ቋጨች። አሜሪካ ላይ የተደረገ የ10 ኪሎ ሜትር የጎዳና ውድድርን በሁለተኛነት አጠናቀቀች። ፈረንሳይ የነበረ የ10 ኪሎ ሜትር ውድድር በሊል አንደኛ ወጣች። እናም እቺ አትሌት አስማረች አንለይ በጣም ከፍ ባለ መንገድ እየተምዘገዘገች እየመጣች መሆኑን ለዓለም አሳየች። 2026 ደግሞ በራስ አልኻይማ አስደናቂ የሚባል ውድድርን በመጨረሻው ሰዓት አሳየችን። ሌላኛዋ ስትፎካከር ያየናት የ21 ዓመቷ አትሌት መልክናት ውዱ ናት። መልክናት ውዱን በአትሌቲክስ መድረክ ላይ ለበርካታ ዓመታት ስናያት ቆይተናል። ቢያንስ ለ7 ዓመታት የቆየች አትሌት ናት። እቺ አትሌት 2021 ላይ በነበረ ውድድር በ5 እና በ10 ኪሎ ሜትር ውድድሮች ስትካፈል እናውቃታለን። 2022 ላይ ደግሞ ተመሳሳዩን ውድድር ከዛ ባለፈ የትራክ መድረኮችንም እንደዚሁ ስታጠናቅቅና ስትወዳደር አይተናታል። በ2024 ስሟ የበለጠ ከፍ እያለ የመጣበት ነበረ። በአመት ውስጥ ከ10 በላይ ውድድሮችን አድርጋለች። በግማሽ ማራቶን ውድድር ሮጣለች። የ5 እና የ10 ኪሎ ሜትር የጎዳና ላይ ውድድሮችን ተካፍላለች። ተጠቃሽ የሚባለው ደግሞ በቦስተን የ10 ኪሎ ሜትር ውድድር 2024 ላይ አንደኛ ሆና ያጠናቀቀችበት ነበረ። ሌሎች ትልልቅ የሚባሉ ውድድሮችንም እንደዚሁ ስትካፈል ሰንብታለች። በ2025 እቺ አትሌት በግማሽ ማራቶን ውድድር ፈጣን የሚባል ሰዓት በማስመዝገብ በቦስተን ሁለተኛ ሆና አጠናቃለች። 1 ሰዓት ከ08 ከ53 የገባችበት ነበረ። የ10 ኪሎ ሜትር ውድድሮችንም እንደዚሁ የአገር አቋራጭ መድረኮችንም በ2025 አድርጋለች። በተለይ አሜሪካ የተደረገ የ7 ማይል ውድድርን በአንደኛነት ኢትዮጵያ የነበረውን ደግሞ የ10 ኪሎ ሜትር የታላቁ ሩጫ በኢትዮጵያን መድረክ በአንደኛነት ስትቋጭ 2025 ላይ እናውቃታለን። 2026 እንደተጀመረ ፊቷን በቀጥታ ወደ ግማሽ ማራቶን በማዞር በራስ አልኻይማ ከኢትዮጵያዊቷ አትሌት ከአስማረች አንለይ ጋር አስገራሚ የሚባል ትንቅንቅ አስመልክተውናል። የተወደዳችሁ የኢትዮ አትሌቲክስ ተከታታዮች በዚህ ውድድር ላይ የነበረውን ትግል እንድትመለከቱ አሸናፊውንም እናንተው እንድታዩት ጋበዝናችሁ። በነገራችን ላይ በወንዶቹ መድረክ በራስ አልኻይማ የመጀመሪያ ድሉን ራስ አልኻይማ ላይ ካደረገ ከ13 ዓመታት በኋላ የተመለሰው ለለንደን ማራቶን እየተዘጋጀ ያለው ኬንያዊው ጄፍሪ ኮምወሮር አንደኛ ሆኖ ሲያጠናቅቅ ትውልደ ኢትዮጵያዊው ለባህሬን የሚሮጠው አትሌት ብርሃኑ ባለው ደግሞ ሁለተኛ ሆኖ ቋጭቷል። መድረኩን ተከታተሉ። ላይክ፣ ሼር፣ ኮሜንት በማድረግ ለብዙ ሰዎች እንዲዳረስ አግዙን። ሰብስክራይብ በማድረግ ቤተሰባችን ሆኑ። ሰላም።
To his pace at the moment, this pacemaker, this rabbit out in front, which I like because it keeps the others up on their toes and they're going with it too. And I really like the way that Kamworor is almost climbing inside his shirt right behind him there. He's so close behind him. I don't think there's any wind about it. I don't think he's having to slipstream behind Kipsaisak.
No, it's more psychological, isn't it? I think if you can run on the heels of someone, you almost have to put a little less mental effort into the performance. You can kind of relax and just allow yourself to have the rhythm set by some others in the early stages, and that can just help save a little bit for the closing stages when it is about everything that you've got left.
Well, I wonder how many of these athletes will be there at 10k. I hope Kipsaisak, the pacemaker, can last to that point because that will mean he'll have done a great job and set it up for Kamworor, who will then, with any others that might be with him, push out on. So for 14 years and more, he's had that sort of monastic lifestyle, that absolute laser focus to train hard and get it right year in, year out. Absolutely, learned so much from a training partner, Eliud Kipchoge. As we look at the women, they did go out fairly steady, 3:22 pace for the first 2 kilometres. That is just outside of 70 minutes predicted pace. You can see there, not yet through, or maybe just approaching the 3 kilometre marker, so certainly taking a little bit longer to get into their running on the women's side. It's falling down to Magdalena Sharew, and more of a marathon specialist. There is the 3 kilometre marker, so yeah, pretty much sticking to that 3:20 or so pace through there, and it is falling again, bunching up. Nobody on the women's side is keen to push on yet. Perhaps some of the younger athletes, the likes of Wudu that we picked out earlier, happier to let the more experienced athletes set the pace. There is Kafala right in the middle, and she's not too keen to approach that 65-minute PB yet. Well, that's a shame they've gone out so slowly, because if they were on 65-minute tempo, they'd be running 3:05 per kilometre, so 3:20s just don't cut it, and you cannot make up huge lumps like that later on in the race. They really are dawdling in that women's race, frankly. It's a race, of course, that's more important than their super fast times. As we see Tadesse here in this men's race, just beginning to struggle already, going with this quick pace, and it's not surprising, because it is when he missed 3rd place by 3 seconds. Actually, in the 2 occasions he's been 4th, he's missed it, the medals by 2 seconds and 3 seconds, Yima. So he comes into this one probably a little bit frustrated with his championship form of years gone by. But interestingly, you see Kamworor to the left of that shot we just had as we gone back to the women. He looks so relaxed moving at this pace, doesn't he? There's just something about his form. When others are looking a little frantic, he looks very calm. Yeah, I think we mentioned before, didn't we, that really his sweet spot is perhaps this half marathon distance, and he comes in excited and ready to race. There are the women just passing 5 kilometres in the background. Their last kilometre, 3:18 coming up on the clock there, so maintaining that pace, not yet wanting to get caught into a faster tempo, and certainly a lot more caginess on the women's side. You can see the main pack is still all very much grouped together. They are taking on water at this stage, perhaps indicating that they are not operating at maximum speed yet. They are taking their time to get into this race, and I think we are going to see much faster kilometre splits in the closing stages of this race. Yeah, Shori, Chepkwony, Chalanga, Chamurgo, Chepkurui, all the big names right there, but 16:32. I mean, that is about a minute slower than we had hoped for in this women's race, and it does highlight the question whether or not a pacemaker out there, a male pacemaker, in what is after all a mixed race, wouldn't have been a wise move to drag them out a little bit more aggressively. Very, very different to the way the men's race is unfolding. 16:32 at 5k. I mean, they're on about what, 69-minute pace for Magdalena Sharew, who has run a 2:18 for 3rd in Chicago last October. She's pretty much on marathon tempo here, and perhaps it is a good outing for her in terms of settling onto that marathon tempo, but certainly not going to threaten personal best. Her personal best sits at 66:37 and is a couple of minutes outside of that projected at the moment, at least. Yeah, she ran that 66:37, but she was 7th here in RAK back in 2020. It was a national record at the time. But that's her 3rd place in Chicago last October, that 2:18. It was a national record where Paul and I went up a couple of years ago and had a zip wire ride on the longest zip wire in the world. I think it was 2k across a valley, wasn't it? It was phenomenal. Yeah, really great memories of that. You'll get a great view of the racing down here, wouldn't you? I'm not sure I was looking at anything the racing. I was too busy screaming as I hurtled across a valley about 500 feet in the air. Anyway, the women go past with the sky lightening up all the time. It depends on the angle, of course, whether you're facing the sunrise or looking into the distance. But here is that women's pack, understandably massive, about 15 strong, because it has been so slow their first 20 minutes, because that's how long they've been running now. No clock on screen, but just over 20 minutes running done. And that first 5k, 16:32. Let's hope somebody gets the bull by the horns and gets some aggression into this.
Well, the danger is you get lulled into a pace, don't you? And whereas we see the two contrasts on the screen there, the men
to the big two eventually, although that men's group is whittling down. It's only about 6 or 7 strong now.
Yeah, it's come down to the men who turned up here in shape and ready to race, and finally we're starting to see a little bit of stretching out in this women's pack, although it is still down to Magdalena Sharew of Tanzania to set out this pace. And so far the big two, as we call them with their times in the 65 minutes, are not showing at the front. I can see young Melknat Wudu just hidden in the purple, the smaller figure following the more experienced athletes ahead of her, but at the moment the pace is dawdling, should we say.
It's funny, isn't it, because the currency of international racing now at the elite level is times, is fast times, and these athletes know that full well. Now there's big prize money up for grabs this weekend, and maybe that's in their minds as well, but all these women know full well that, you know, the world is watching. Khaimah has developed a reputation for brilliant racing and really quick times, and they're not fulfilling that part of the bargain, so to speak, at the moment. It's within their right, so to speak. They're perfectly entitled to run how they feel, but nobody has really attacked this today and gone out from the gun with the attitude of, I want a quick time. These are brilliant conditions, it's a quick course, this is a huge opportunity. They've all, as you said, been lulled into that sort of rather slow, almost sleepy pace for these opening kilometres, and they've been out there now for 25.5 minutes, and it's 4 or 5 across the front. Nobody really prepared to commit.
No, there is Chip Korea at the front. She does have a 65.46 to her name. Perhaps now, as she's moved to the front, that is why we see for the first time that predicted race time slip below the 70 minutes, but it's still not fast, and that is why there are so many women in this group. Conditions, as we said, they are good out there, so struggling to understand. They do have the bikes ahead of them as well, so did they want to stretch out? Yes, there are no pacemakers in there, but you can use the lead bikes as a little bit of a pull and also get settled into the paces that you're used to training at.
Is that what you used to do, try and catch the lead bike?
You used to concentrate on, yeah, different, or use them as a little bit of a marker to kind of set your pace from.
And then eventually somebody told you that the bike will keep speeding up and stay ahead of you. Like a carrot being dangled in front of a donkey. Anyway.
Are you calling me a donkey?
No, perish the thought. That is very much the objective for this, for the local authority. Khaimah Tourism Development Authority have got the bit between their teeth, and they are one of the great sponsors of this race, and have huge ambitions. There's a monstrous casino under construction alongside this main road around Marjan Island. We see that women's elite field, Paul, at 32.45 at 10k. It's on the slow side. We were hoping it might be, well, a minute and a half or so quicker than that.
It is picking up now. They're gradually picking it up and winding it up each kilometre, so we are now down from those early 3:20 splits down to 3:13, but you can see the gesturing from the women. They're just trying to get somebody else to come to the front and do a little bit of the work. Still, Magdalena Sharew is the one, the marathon runner. They're leaving it to her to set that pace, and the others happy to settle in. And I'm looking for the likes of Kafali, who was hidden in amongst that pack. I can't actually even see her in that shot. I can see young Melknat Wudu on the far side, the smaller stature of her, just eyes focused on the heels of the woman in front, and not yet much happening. Slight increase in pace, as we said, but not enough to do any damage to that pack, and you could still throw that carpet over the top of them.
3:13 there for that kilometre for the women, and we were hoping they'd be down there around 3:05, 3:10 per kilometre, and they've never been anywhere near that throughout the entire race. It is a very, very different race unfolding for the women as they come towards the U-turn, the turnaround point at 10k. This U-turn they're going to negotiate now is at about 10.1 kilometres. So that means they've gone through 10k in about 34 minutes, something like that. It's much slower than was predicted, than was hoped for, has to be said. There you can see the splits, although they have wounded up a little bit. The second 5k, you can see top left of the screen there.
The 10k split did come up at 32.45, so they have picked it up. And actually for some of the young athletes in there, the likes of Wudu, whose personal best is just under 69 minutes, they are approaching that time now, perhaps with a little bit more running and bounce left in their legs to now know the course as well. The advantage of a two-lap course being that you can get a little bit of experience of it. There aren't too many climbs. In fact, the only real changes in this course are as you go over those small bridges that link the islands here on Marjan, and they aren't big at all. So it is a fast course, and they've had the opportunity to study that. So let's hope they're going to be some faster racing now over this second lap.
Well, it will be negative splits, and we know that there's some fireworks coming in this women's race here. I did them a disservice there, saying 34 minutes and 10k. As you said, Paula, quite correctly, 32.45 at 10k. I wonder what the second 10k will do. We'll find out when they get to 20k. But the men's race, well, they continue to knock out splits of 2.44 per kilometre through 11k and 12k. They're winding it up really nicely. I do think we might see negative splits in the men's race. Well, remember, they got to 10k in 27.43, which is very quick racing. I don't think course record at 57.56 is necessarily guaranteed any safety at the moment. The world best is under real threat. Hampton Samuels 59.01 from Houston. Indeed, the women's world best was also set in Houston by Belaine, Fantaye Belaine. She ran 64.49. I don't think that's going to get threatened today.
That is a lone run in for Annette.
Yeah, strange, isn't it, that she's been dropped already there, Annette Chalangat. Yeah. She's a 68-minute performer. She should have been able to stay with this tempo. But of course, these it's so easy to forget. These are not metronomes. They're not machines, these athletes. They have good days and bad days, and one or two of them are going to have a bad day, an uncomfortable run. We don't know the reasons for that. And I suppose that's what's all the more admirable about the really consistent distance races, isn't it? They very rarely, if ever, have a bad day. They are sort of metronomic in their ability to turn up and race well and get it right again and again.
There's Hula Garesha also struggling to go with that lead group, just checking her watch.
Yeah, she wears number 20, Abera. But very difficult, Paula, when you're A, you know you're having a bad day, and B, you're isolated early on in the race. Mid-race, you've got 8-10 kilometres to go, and you're just struggling along on your own. The temptation to drop out is enormous, and yet, of course, that contradicts the spirit of being a tough distance runner.
It does, and you have to focus, as she is lucky as she can see now some women starting to drop off that lead group, so this pace is definitely picking up there. It's starting to string out, and she will have those targets ahead of her to focus on, and can, of course, look over the other side of the road and see perhaps the elite men coming back down as well on that side, but that group is starting to whittle down.
Well, it's quite something, isn't it, when it comes down to Sharew, the marathon runner amongst this group, to take on the role of pushing the pace along. The men to the left of picture, speed endurance to wind it up now with this last 6k. So this is special. Kamworor possibly heading for sub 58 minutes today, surely heading for a massive world best for 2026. Hampton Samuels 59.01 is living on borrowed time, I think, from that Houston Marathon, some 4 weeks ago. Here's that women's pack, which is beginning to whittle down now a bit, but it's still Sharew carrying the burden.
It is. She has been helped by Jessica Chilangat of Kenya, who does have a 66.13 to her name. So for her, this is pedestrian enough at the moment, but it looks like it's hard work out there. Settled in behind is the pre-race favourite Kafale, who's really kept her powder dry all the way through so far, and alongside the youngster Melknat Wudu, who is just 21. Kibede also finding this pace tough to go with. So many of these women finding the pace harder than we would have imagined.
Well, it's funny though, isn't it? Because actually there is the sort of the factor of when you get lulled into a slower pace during a race, and then there's an acceleration in there. Even though you should be able to handle the overall average pace, the acceleration can find out a lot of athletes. They'd have preferred a more healthy, steady pace right from the start.
Yeah, you want to get into that rhythm early on, don't you? As they did on the men's side. There is Balu trying to stick, and the gap is opening.
It is indeed. Kamworor has made the break. Has he put in a kick here, or are the others just settling? I think that's happened so quickly. We were with them about 2 minutes ago, and in the space of 90 seconds or so, Kamworor is away. He's got about a 5 or 7 metre gap, and I think that Kamworor must have accelerated there. Maybe at the 15k point, he saw that time, 41.25, and has kicked away, hoping to get under 58 minutes here. I don't know how good his internal maths are. 15k, we're down to what, 5 or 6?
Yeah, it's certainly picked up, and as you were saying, I think a huge amount of this was down to the fact that they were lulled into that steady pace from the beginning, and then to wind it up later, it's harder unless you've trained to be able to do this. There are 6 women in there, and the youngster, less experienced Wudu, taking on water. Just taking on a little bit. It's still down to Sharew and Chalangat at the front, pushing on this pace. All the work is being done by these lead 2 women, and the others quite happy to settle in. I think we've lost Kafale from that group. We certainly have.
Well, they've wound it up quite nicely this last 5k or so. 48.26 at 15k. Looks to me like they could be heading here. That last kilometre, 3:03. Now they're racing. Now they're beginning to run hard in this women's race. I suspect we're going to get something down in the mid-67s, something like that, which is very much world-class racing, of course. But I still feel as though there's an opportunity been missed with that slow first 10k. Remember, 32.45 at 10k, and we're hoping it would be somewhere down around 31 and a half minutes. Chalangat, Jessica Chalangat, 7th in Valencia a couple of years back with her personal best of 66 minutes, 66.13. She was 3rd here in RAK last year in the Khaimah Half Marathon with 66.53. She's a great 10k racer. She's run 30:01 for 10k on the roads. That was in Valencia 3 years back. As we see the sun rising still in the distance behind Jeffrey Kamworor to left of screen, and he's got that glorious isolation now. What's that gap behind him? About 50 metres?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great shot, isn't it, with the sun climbing behind in the background as the king of the half marathon distance starts to pull away, and the others forlornly giving chase.
And I'll tell you what, that 17th kilometre from Kamworor, the fastest of the race so far at 2:42. His 17th kilometre, his 18th kilometre, and that's the one that did the damage. His 18th kilometre at 2:46, so still holding the feet to the fire of the other athletes, so to speak. He's making it very, very hard for them to get back to him. He's not letting up. At no point is he giving them a sniff of consolation or a chance to come back to him. When you build a gap like that with an acceleration and then keep your foot on the throttle, make it very, very hard, nobody can come back to you.
And it's a good feeling, isn't it, when you break away, and he knew that he'd done that. I'm sure that was why we saw that 17th kilometre pick up a little bit. It's just a psychological boost of knowing you've put in the work for a long time, and finally it comes to fruition and you break that string that was attaching the others, tailing off the back of you, to your heels, and he is able to run freely and approaching 19 kilometres. That will be a good feeling as well, and he will pour everything that he's got left into the final 2 and a bit kilometres of this race now.
Well, he's sharpened for this really well, as Jeffrey Kamworor. His most recent race was back on the 31st of December. So what, some 6 weeks or so ago now, he won the Madrid 10k It's a slightly downhill course. He ran 27.42. I ran it myself years and years ago, and it's an insane race. Back then, I don't know if it's still chaotic now, but back then, you ran through a tunnel of people about 6 feet wide. It was insane, and there were fireworks being thrown in amongst your feet and all that sort of thing, being a New Year's race. Have you run it?
I've run the 10K in Madrid. So
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the New Year's race.
Yeah. That one is a great one.
I think it's one of the best post-race celebrations I've ever had. I do remember little bits of it. It involved a restaurant and dancing and tablecloths being thrown all over the place.
And silly string being fired in your face.
And liquid refreshment aplenty. Here he is, though, the fabulous form of Geoffrey Kamworor. A 2:47 his last kilometre. He's maintaining that tempo. I remember 2:45 pace is 58 minutes. Exactly, and he's on schedule here for something around 58.10, we're being told. I would love to see him get a new personal best and go below 58 minutes. Here are the chasers behind Kamworor.
And it is still Balu chasing hard. He certainly might well be within shot of personal best. His stands at 59.41 from Valencia back in 2024, and he's not that far behind Kamworor, whose predicted pace. In fact, he's not moving away anymore, Kamworor. I think Balu is being able to maintain that distance, and that will help him.
I think Balu is closing that gap maybe a little bit. Kamworor's last kilometre, his 19th kilometre, was at 2:49, we're being told, from the lead vehicle. So, if anything, he's tiring Kamworor. I thought he would continue to wind it up and close really quickly. He is hurting there, there's no doubt about it. I wonder if he's had a glance round, because Balu maybe catching Kamworor. Wouldn't that be a turn-up? The Bahrainian 29-year-old, as you said, Paul, he's going to run a massive personal best. He's going to run a personal best by over a minute here, I think, Berhanu Balu. He has got pedigree, and I've put in my notes, I've got an asterisk saying he could be a surprise. His personal best 5,000, it was 12.48. That was in June last year in the Paris Diamond League. 12.48, fabulously fast 5,000 on the track. He was second there, ironically, to the world record Olga Jelcha. And here is Balu now. He's got fabulous speed. He's run 7.31 indoors for 3,000. That's quicker. That's quicker than Kamworor. And he holds the Asian record, 26.54 for 10K on the roads.
Yeah, and that was running Herzog, but he has the pace, doesn't he? He has that 12.48. 5,000 metre pace on the track. Has been was sixth in the Olympic Games, 5,000 in Tokyo. And look around, he's tiring as well, without a doubt, but he is being rewarded for holding on as long as he has done to Kamworor, who has to know that he's closing. It's a little anxious look there, isn't there, over the shoulder.
Well, look at those splits. The bottom two times there on that list, 2:47, 2:48, amongst the slowest of Kamworor's race. He is tiring, there's no doubt about that. And Balu back there is probably about 40 metres down. That gap is closing, and Balu has got the bit between his teeth now, and he can see Kamworor closest to the camera. Kamworor, he is suffering, he is tiring, and Balu in the background is closing with every stride. It's visible from this shot. Is he going to run out of road as Kamworor there crosses, I think, the 20-kilometre mat? We'll get a split for that any second. Balu probably about 7 or 8 seconds down. There it is, the gap, 9 seconds, and he's got one kilometre in which to close that gap. Has Kamworor glanced around? Is he aware?
I think he has to be aware. There are the bikes alongside. I'm not sure if they're allowed to give that information. He has to be aware that camera foreshortens it, but from that overhead shot we can see you can see the shoes. The turnover of Balu is quicker behind, and remember, he has chased home Kamworor on many occasions in that World Cross Country we talked about in Aarhus, where Kamworor came away with the bronze. Balu was 5th in that race, so he's used to chasing Kamworor. And how much does Geoffrey Kamworor have left that he can pull out in this last kilometre? He hasn't slowed again.
Well, his last
20th kilometre, has he? That's come through at the same pace.
Yeah, 2:48, the official split there. I've been given 2:46 from the lead vehicle. It matters not. The fact is that Balu here is closing. Very different build to Kamworor, isn't he? He's barrel-chested. Short, stocky, punchy little man, really powerful stride. Kamworor is long and lean and also powerful, but is being closed down. 56.5 minutes on the clock. How close are they going to get to 58 minutes here today? Kamworor is definitely tiring, there's no doubt about that, although maybe that gap is staying at 35-40 metres, and Bailu is going to run out of road, I suspect. Kamworor has put in such an aggressive surge with his final third or so of the race, Paula. He kind of deserves the... he's the one that's taken the initiative.
He has. He's done all of the work all the way through. The pacemaker stepped aside just before 23 minutes, and since then it has been all Geoffrey Kamworor at the front, and it will have been a welcome sight for him to see that 1 kilometre to go, and means that he can put everything that he's got left into this long straight. And as you talked about in the intro, it is a very deceptive, long straight. He can see the finish line up ahead of him. He can't wait for it to get a little bit closer, because he has to be aware that Bailu was starting to close him down, and now finally he can see that finish line up ahead.
Kamworor then coming towards the finish line. He can see it up ahead of him. Bailu closing, and look at the sprint here from Bailu. Checks his watch, goodness knows what for, because he is in a race here as Geoffrey Kamworor looks like he's going to record yet another marvellous victory over the half marathon distance. It is his sweet spot. It has been for many years. Twice the world champion across country, 3 times the world champion at the half marathon, and victor once again here at the age of 33 in this 19th edition of the Ras Al Khaimah half marathon. Kamworor is champion once more, takes the clock there at just outside 58 minutes, about 58:14 unofficially. Bailu comes home for a fabulous second place, a monstrous personal best for the former Ethiopian, now running in the colours of Bahrain. Prior to today, his personal best was 59:41. He's just locked off well over a minute from his personal best, and Rono comes home for 3rd place, and he's under 59 minutes as well. It's the quickest time in the world this year by Geoffrey Kamworor by a massive margin. The first 3 indeed going under the quickest time of the year prior to today.
Yeah, lucky 13 it was for Kamworor. 13 years after victory here, comes back, and a majestic win today that tells him that his training is in the right place heading into that marathon later on.
And look at these times. Masai coming through there in 5th place, I think, at about 59:02. These are super quick times. Ratsim and Dinky, there'll be personal bests galore here. Ratsim, well, it's his debut. He's just 19 years old, the Tanzanian. This is a fabulous run from him. Dinky, the Ethiopian, has a personal best of 62:48, and he's going to come home here in under 60 minutes. He's going to set a personal best by about 2.5 minutes, I think. This is great racing. One athlete after another pouring across the line here in under 60 minutes. There's no clock on screen, but I can tell it's 59:40 now. So Dinky here, grimacing as he comes towards the line. Is he going to get through in under 60 minutes? 59:50 now. He is. There it is. You can see the clock above that finish line tape. And they both come through just under 60 minutes. A special day here in Ras Al Khaimah as the 60-minute barrier is broken by what? The top 7, maybe 8, is that?
Maybe 8, yes. Certainly phenomenal racing, and as we say, hats off to Geoffrey Kamworor for the work that...
Personal best today was close. His personal best 58:01 from 2019, but 58:13. We're not going to bicker about a few seconds here and there. Brilliant win from Kamworor from a very fast closing Jamal Yima Mekkonen. Back to this women's race though, Paul, and that big pack that looked so comfortable for a long time, approaching 20k, whittled down to 3, and still Sharew.
It is still Sharew doing the work, and still tucked in behind is my pick, young 21-year-old Melknat Wudu, who has a 68:53 personal best, but she's handled the surges and the pickups, which are difficult to do, particularly when you're a young runner and you settle into a slower pace and then it winds up. It's difficult to hang on to that, but she's done a very, very good job. And the other woman in that group is Anley. Asmarech Anley Yeseneh, also only 21. She has run some fast times, mainly in Lille, done a lot of racing over those fast courses, 5k and 10k on the roads in Lille, and she's handled the surges here today, making her debut at the half marathon distance, and it's going to be a good debut.
It is indeed, yes, although, you know, this has been such a strange race on the women's side, a really, really slow first half. They picked it up gradually through this second half, and it throws up some strange results because Anley, I mean, frankly, she's one of the outsiders. We wouldn't have had her in our top 10 probably prior to the race, with all due respect.
No, but I think when you have a 30:23 10 kilometre to your name and 14:41 over 5k, it did also run recently in Nijmegen 47:05, so she's in shape coming into it, and I think they've wisely left the pace setting to Shuri, and now for the first time we see the pair of them move either side, so Shuri can't pick up the pace anymore. 3:06 that last kilometre, so they now are operating at exceptionally fast half marathon splits. Shuri does now try to respond, because once they hit the front it wasn't quite as easy as it was sitting in behind.
No, exactly. And Shuri has done so much of the work, and here she goes. She's got that strange forward lean. She's got extraordinarily long levers, long legs, massively long femurs, the long thigh bone, and she's using that to good effect here as she tries to close over this last kilometre, last few hundred metres now. They're in the long home straight. They can see the finish in front of them, about 600 metres away. And Shuri here will make them work every metre of this last, less than half a mile.
And I think her experience is going to tell over this last kilometre. It is deceptive when you can see the finish arch up ahead, and this is now the second time we've seen Wudu and Anley surge either side, and this time I think it is for real. This is now a battle that they are judging, and hopefully judging correctly into the finish, as we see in the back there. Jessica Chalangat trying to chase them down, and it's a long shot up the road ahead. The surging duo of Wudu and Anley trying to move away. They have certainly broken Shuri.
Well, Wudu's only 21 years old. She's a fabulous talent. World Junior Championship silver medalist over 5,000 metres in 2021 and 2022. This is a battle of the 5k runners. It's been a slow, tactical race, this women's race, and Anley now pushes to the front with that recent 5k form that Paula mentioned. 14:41, world-class racing over 5k on the roads. And here you can see Anley easing away from the pack here to take this one. Shuri, the marathon runner in the background, did so much work through the second half, doesn't have the leg speed. That last kilometre at 3:06, it is going to be a surprise winner here, but a glorious win for this youngster. Anley comes home. Asmarech Anley Yeseneh takes the 19th edition of the Ras Al Khaimah half marathon. Her time well under 67:30. It ends up being a very solid, quick race here, despite the slow opening kilometres for the women.
And a tough way to race like that, and a phenomenal debut from young Asmarech Anley. She does have the all-time third fastest 5 kilometre time, but has now translated that to half marathon form as we see the other women coming in. And you're right, Tim, fast times, given particularly how sedately they went out over the first 10 kilometres or so of this race. As the sun comes up, it is reflecting on fast times in both of the races today, particularly on the men's side from the beginning, and the women was all done in the latter half of the race.
Well, Chacha not really doing the cha-cha there. She's coming home a little way down the field. Alameahu as well is a little way back. Some of the big names just haven't had their best day at the races today, but Asmarech Anley, the 21-year-old African Junior Champion in 2023. Pretty limited international experience, it has to be said, but goodness me, did she show a clean pair of heels to the others behind her today. Her track personal best, only 15:18, much quicker on the roads over 5k. As you said, Paul, a really quick 10k in Lille back in 2024, as we see Chacha crossing the line there and just outside 69 minutes, maybe exactly on 69 minutes. But that's the longest race of Anley's life, and she's come up trumps.
She has, and by racing it as well, and benefiting from the experience of Magdalena Shuri, who ended up holding on for third position after much of the work that she put in that race.
I still feel, I mean, the winning time around 68:30 there, we'll wait for confirmation of that, but I still feel as though there's a missed opportunity there this morning from those women who went out so slowly through the first 10k. They could have been a minute quicker and more, I feel, if they had just spread their efforts more evenly. Well, we have got the women's winner down there with Wendy Sly. Here is Anley with an interpreter.
Big congratulations on the win today. It was a very slow race to start with. Were you all just being careful at the beginning, or were you just holding back to see how you felt later on?
እንኳን ደስ አለሽ። በጣም በጥንቃቄ የተደረገ ውድድር ነበረ። የመጀመሪያዎቹን ርቀቶች ጠንቀቅ ብለሽ ለማድረግ ነበረ ስትዘጋጀ የነበረው። ወደ መጨረሻ ላይ ለመውጣት ምንድን ነበር ሐሳብሽ?
ማለ በጣም ወጋት ዘ ነበር ከ10 ኪሎ ሜትር በኋላ ያው ግን እግዚአብሔር ይመስገን አንደኛ በመጣቴ በጣም ደስ ብሎኛል።
So she's happy that she finished the first place. It was a bit tough after the 10 kilometer, but she's really happy that she won the race.
And coming into the last few kilometers, there were 3 of you together. How did you feel with 2 or 3 kilometers to go when the pace was getting faster and faster?
ወደ መጨረሻው አካባቢ 3 አትሌቶች ሆናችሁ በጋራ ነበር ስትሮጡ የነበረው። የመጨረሻዎቹን 2-3 ኪሎ ሜትሮች ማጠቃለያው ላይ ውድድሩ በጣም እየፈጠነ በሄደ ሰዓት ምንድን ነበር ሲሰማሽ የነበረው?
ያው አሪፍ ነው ግን በጣም ንፋስ ነበረው። ወጦ ለመምራትም ትንሽ አስቸግራል። በጣም ንፋስ ነበረው። በቃ የራሴን አማራጭ መውሰድ አለብኝ ብዬ ወደ መጨረሻው ወጣ።
So it was a really windy race, so it was so difficult to break out and to run on my own. So in the final kilometers I decided to run out and break out, so it was a very windy day.
And the time ended up being actually quite fast. What does that mean to you and what's next?
የገባሽበት ሰዓት በጣም ፈጣን የሚባል ነው እና ምን ይነግርሻል ይሄ ስላንቺ ምን ታስቢያለሽ ወደፊት?
ወደፊት ደግሞ ከዚህ ተሻለ ሰርቼ ከዚህ ተሻለ ለመሮጥ እሞክራለሁ ከእግዚአብሔር ጋር።
So in the future I am planning to do a bit more than this, and if God's willing I am planning to do more and more.
Well, congratulations on a great win today.
እንኳን ደስ አለሽ ለዚህ ታላቅ ድል ስለበቃሽ።
ከእግዚአብሔር ጋር ደግሞ ከዚህ የበለጠ ሰርቼ ለመምጣት እሞክራለሁ። አመሰግናለሁ።
Thank you, and with God on my side I will try to improve in the future.
Well, isn't that lovely? What a story. 2 contrasting races today. Super fast men's race. 7-8 men under 60 minutes, we think, with Geoffrey Kamworor, the super experienced Geoffrey Kamworor, winning with a 58.13 unofficially. And in the women's race, a newbie, a new talent, just 21 years old, in her debut at the half marathon, taking the victory. This is the style of Asmarech Anley, Yeseneh, and Paula. Really exciting. Yet another Ethiopian off that production line.
Absolutely, and definitely more to come from her. She's certainly still learning racing at this half marathon distance. Benefited, as we said, from the hard work of Magdalena Sharew of Tanzania. Held on to 3rd in the background behind her, and Melknat Wudu rewarded with a big personal best in 2nd place as well. More to come, I think, from both of these young women, just 21 years old.
Yes, Anley has got fabulous track speed. Just checking her card, she's run 3,000 in 8:42, and she used that world-class track speed to good effect there over the final 300 or 400 metres to show a clean pair of heels there to Wudu and Sharew. She's definitely got more in the tank, there's no doubt about that. I mean, what a way to announce your arrival on the international scene. What, about 67.25 we think her winning time? We're waiting for that to come through officially. Well, I think we can do that for you now. There it is, 67.21 indeed for Asmarech Anley. That is quite some way to announce your arrival on the half marathon scene. Well, Melknat Wudu 67.26, and look at that, despite the slow splits early on, the first 6 under 68 minutes here in Ras Al Khaimah, and it is indeed